How many of you have ever wanted more money for just about anything at all? If your hand don't go up, you're just lying. Good. That's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. So one of the things I want to do is, I loved what Doug did when Doug kind of came up with the book. So I've got a book that I wrote last year, The Private Money Guide. So this book literally shows you where all the money is for every deal you will ever want to buy, but not just where it is, how to actually get that money. So for the first person that comes up here, grab it, and that's your book. All right, so today, I'm going to show you how to generate more money for your retirement. I'm going to show you how to generate more money for your lifestyle, more money for your family. I'm going to show you how to find a lot more money for all those real estate deals you want. And I'm even going to show you how to create some legacy money. You've heard about that a lot today. How many of you have had kids? That's the legacy I'm talking about. And what we're going to talk about is a little-known wealth strategy that is so powerful that it literally will change your financial future. This strategy, it transformed everything I've done, but the best part is it's been around 200 years. And most people in here probably don't even know about it. How can something be around 200 years and you don't know about it? We're also going to show you how to get all the money back for all the cars you will ever buy, drive, and own. And then we're going to show you how to pay off debt, expenses, and overhead, but that's not the important part. We're going to show you how to recapture and recycle all the money you're paying to the banks, to the credit cards, to everybody else. We're going to show you how to get that money back. But before I do that, I always like starting with a little demonstration. You guys cool with helping me out with the demonstration? Can you do that? All right, I need 5, so I'm going to pick on the front. Can I have you 3 right here? You guys stand up, and how about you 2 right here? All right, folks, take a look. These 5 right here. You see, according to the Social Security Administration, out of 100 people, only 5 of them will be financially secure into retirement. Only 5%. So these are your 5. So let's put your hands together for our successful retirees. All right, 5%ers. Thank you, guys. You guys can sit down. Think about that. Seriously, think about that for a second. Is this not the United States of America? Is this not the greatest country on earth? The land of opportunity. How can that be? How can that be that only 5 out of 100, only 5% are going to be ready for retirement, successful in retirement? I don't know. You guys see a problem with that? Because I see a problem with that. You know what I see? I see a lot of 65, 75, and 85-year-olds working into their retirement, not because they want to, but because they have to. And here's the thing. Before you guys get worried about your retirement, about your financial future, I got some good news for you. Every single one of you, all of you, that are in this room today, you are the 5%. You see, the other 95%, they're not here. They're home in this sauna that you guys have here in Arizona. We don't have this kind of stuff back home. They're home. And the biggest difference between all of you and them is your willingness to invest your time. Your willingness to invest your money. Your willingness to invest your effort and your energy to learn something new. That's the biggest difference. So, how many of you right now are ready to learn some serious 5% stuff? All right. 200-year-old wealth strategy used by the wealthiest Americans, used by banks, and no one really knows about it. So before we do that, every time I come to an event, and I go to a lot of events sitting in your seats, right, not on the stage, and when I'm in your seat looking up, I'm always like, why should I listen to this person? What's their story? So you guys mind if I tell you a little bit about my background? You saw a little from the video, but here's the deal. You see, I grew up in a lower middle-class family. My dad was an alcoholic. My parents got divorced, and my mom had to raise me, and it was a huge financial struggle for her. And, folks, I know that's not the norm, but how many of you have ever had a tough time? How many of you have ever struggled financially? That's how I grew up. And even though I didn't have much, I always wanted more. How many of you have ever wanted more? Say more. That wasn't bad, but you know what? This is the Impact Players Tour. You guys are here to make an impact, so let's try that one more time, because I know you want more. How many of you have ever wanted more? Say more! All right, that's what I was looking for. And I wanted more. And I was willing to hustle. I was willing to do what everyone else was unwilling to do, just like all of you. You guys were all willing to show up. You were willing to do what the other 95% were unwilling to do. So let's fast forward to 2004. In 2004, I accomplished two major goals in my life, two dreams. I became a pro snowboarder, and I founded a chain of skateboard snowboard shops called Fat Man Board Shops, PHAT. But I wanted more. I wanted more, and I was always drawn to finance. I was always fascinated by money. I think as a kid I watched that movie Wall Street one too many times. So I dove in. I started studying. I started immersing myself into this world, and I became a financial advisor. And as an advisor, I excelled quickly. I got all those certifications, I got all the licenses, and I became a top-performing financial advisor, managing millions and millions and millions of dollars for some major firms. And by 2008, folks, I was crushing it. I was making a ton of money. I was like the rock star in the firm. And then I got that next big idea. You guys are dreamers. I saw you guys stand up with the business owners. You guys all have big dreams. You have big visions. Well, I had a big vision too. And my next big dream was my lease was coming due for the store. And I was like, I need my own place. And I drove by this big dilapidated building, one of those ones where you drive by and you're like, someone should tear that thing down. Yeah, that one. And I'm like, I'm gonna develop this into a strip mall, and I'm gonna move my store, and this is a brilliant idea. And I know you guys know this is coming. Did you hear when I said I did that? 2008. And you remember that little thing called the Great Recession? Yeah, that thing hit me like a Mack truck at full steam ahead. I was crushed. How many of you have ever made a decision in your life you thought was going to go one direction, and then it goes the complete other way? You guys have had that happen, right? And despite my conventional financial knowledge, being an advisor, despite my conventional knowledge in real estate, there were things I didn't know, and I was devastated. I was literally one payment away from being completely bankrupt. And folks, up to this point in my life, I didn't really need help from people. I was kind of like that rags to riches. I didn't ask people for help. I was making it. But there was this one night where I had to come home to my brand new girlfriend, my beautiful girlfriend who had just moved in. And I had to say, sweetie, I need your help. I need your help paying the mortgage. I need your help to pay the utilities. And we have to rent out that bedroom because I can't make it. I can't make it. And a lot of women would have been like, I'm just going to let myself out. But not this one. I think she kind of liked me. Because she ended up marrying me. And we got through that time, barely. You see, I was determined. I wasn't going to quit. I knew the only way to fail was to quit, and that wasn't in my cards. And you guys know this guy, Warren Buffett. Well, he says buy low. He says a lot of things, but he says buy low, so that's what I did. I started buying real estate, pennies on the dollar. And I got up to 36 units over the next couple years. And, folks, I thought I had it. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Worth a couple million on paper. And a couple years later, I was in trouble again. You see, I thought I knew what I didn't know. And what I didn't know is how money really worked. Okay? And I kept applying the same traditional knowledge, the same financial knowledge that I'd been taught in my life up to this point. And in 2014, we were living paycheck to paycheck again. And at that point, we had to sell all 36 units. Not only the 36 units, because those are investment properties, we also had to sell our dream house. Our dream house that my wife and me worked so hard to get. You guys know how that feels, right? That hurts. I was crushed. I was literally like ready to just throw in the towel, like Rocky Balboa in that movie, like this. Then I got in mail a postcard. I call it the magic postcard. There was nothing magic about this postcard. You know what it was? This postcard was just inviting me to come to a real estate seminar to learn how to flip houses. I look at your faces. You're thinking, dude, doesn't this guy ever learn? Here's the truth. I wasn't going to this stupid seminar to learn how to flip houses. Oh, no. You see, I was so humbled by my failures up to this point that I had nothing to lose. By going to this seminar, they were giving away a free iPod Shuffle. So I had nothing to lose, but I had an iPod Shuffle to gain out of the deal, so off I went. Day one, nothing special. Day two, I was blown away. And I wasn't blown away because I learned a lot of new stuff. I was blown away because I learned one new thing. And just like all of you, today, at the Impact Players Tour, you are all going to find something that will be your one new thing, and that one new thing will be everything. And my one new thing was this. I learned what the successful investors were doing, what the wealthy were doing, what the elite were doing, the Grant Cardones of the world. I learned what they were doing was the complete opposite of what I was doing. And up to this point, I also learned They didn't teach me this stuff. I'm an advisor, I should know this stuff. They didn't teach that. And folks, they don't teach this stuff. You know this. The financial knowledge that we all need, they don't teach that. You have to seek that knowledge out. And at that point, I dove in. And I started ending the process of money, then broke, money, then broke. And how many of you have ever known someone who's had money, and it's gone, money again, and it's gone? Well, here's the problem, folks. It's not the money. That's not the problem. The problem is not the economy. The problem is the misinformation that we're given. That's the problem. The valuable financial knowledge that we really need, that's what we're missing. And that is what keeps us on the financial hamster wheel. That's just what does it. At that point, I did everything it took. Maxed credit cards out to get the proper coaches, did everything it took. I didn't care, I just had to learn. I wanted to learn the secrets of the wealthy. Why was it that the wealthy did something completely different than I did and that I was taught to do with money and that I was actually doing with my clients' money? Today, my life is very different. Today, my wife and I operate 8 companies. We're tens of millions of dollars. We have a pretty good-sized rental portfolio, not in comparison with Grant Cardone, so I'm small fish. Flip hundreds of houses, have a wholesale operation. We even had a show on HGTV. Oh boy, I don't even talk about it. But today, myself and my colleague Brent Kesler are going to talk to you about our journey, what we've learned, the secrets of the wealthy, so that you guys can transform your life. Are you guys ready for a transformation? You guys ready for that one new breakthrough? Let's do it. All right. I'm going to talk to you today about the money multiplier. We are going to literally map out the millionaire mystery. And you guys right up on the boards, on the screens, that's our website, themoneymultiplier.com. Check it out. And I'm going to talk to you today about your money. I'm going to talk to you about your wealth. And I'm going to talk to you about how all of you can live like the wealthy using their own techniques. And then we're going to talk about this thing called control. How many of you like having control of your money? Yeah? All right. I'm going to talk to you how to keep control of that money, but not just keep control of that money, how to build wealth and keep all of that wealth in your family. This is going to be some out-of-the-box thinking. I need you guys to keep an open mind. And here's the other thing. We're not selling anything today. I'm up here just to teach you, and Brent's going to teach you as well. You're going to have questions, and when you do, please hold them to the end. We have a booth right in the back. Come over, we'll answer every single one of them. And you guys have heard this before, I'm sure. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. This, what you're going to hear, is going to sound too good to be true. But it is not too good to be true. And I urge you to really keep that open mind, and I promise you this is not too good to be true, but you don't have to believe me. Don't believe me. How about believing these people? These 3 people up on the screen right here, Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Nelson Nash, all of them talk about it in their books, and there are so many more books. But here's the deal. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about when you were a kid. You all learned how to ride a bike, right? You guys remember that? Parents put the training wheels on, you got on the bike. Pedals forward, the bike went forward. Handlebars to the right, the bike went to the right. Handlebars to the left, bike went to the left. Simple concept. Then the training wheels came off. We crashed. We got bumps, we got bruises. Some of us shed tears, but we were persistent. You got back on that bike, and you learned how to ride that bike. And in life, we are taught how to do things a certain way. And today, all of you could ride that bike, even if you haven't been on a bike for years, right? You could all get back on a bike. You could. But what would happen? What would happen if that bike didn't work that way anymore? Take a look at this screen. What would happen if that bike worked like this? When you got on the bike and you turned the handlebars to the right, the bike went to the left. And you turned the handlebars to the left and the bike went to the right. Could you ride that bike? You could not ride that bike. And if you don't believe me, check out the YouTube video. It's called The Backward Bicycle. You could not ride that bicycle. And you know, back to what we're taught and trained, in our lives we're also taught how money works. We're taught and trained to think about how money works. We're taught that it works a certain way. And our whole lives, that's what we're led to believe. But what if I told you today? What if I told all of you that what you were taught was wrong? That would be difficult, wouldn't it? That would be difficult for you to adapt to that new way of thinking about how money really works. But it would not be impossible. You eventually would learn how to ride the backward bicycle. And eventually you would learn how money really works. And that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover one piece of that. And for those of you that get the book, that'll cover a lot more pieces of it. So with that being said, before I can really explain this, I need to have you understand the mysteries of money, and I need to ask you all, what is the definition of money? What is money? All right, love it. It is a means of exchange. That's all money is. You nailed it. Money is nothing more than a means of exchange. Money for food, food for money. Money for car, car for money. Money for house, house for money, right? So if that's the definition of money, then let me ask you this. What company in the world uses compound interest? Anyone want to take a guess? What company uses compound interest? Banks. That's the most common answer. Banks. Banks do not use compound interest. You see, what banks do is they charge us compound interest. Banks pay us compound interest. They do not use compound interest at all. And I'll prove it. Take a $20 bill into your local teller, your local Bank of Arizona, write your name on it, really big, right across the front. They might throw you in jail, but whatever, try it. Take that $20 bill, give it to the teller, and say, I need you to put this in my box with my name on it and put it in the back. I'll be back next week, maybe in a month. Is that what they do? Do they put your money, your $20 in a box and put it in the back? Absolutely not. Your money's put in motion that second. Behind you, they're already loaning your money out. You see, what banks do is they keep money in motion. That's all they do. There isn't a business in the world that uses compound interest, not one of them. All businesses keep money in motion. Everything in the universe is in motion. My lips are flapping. The air is blowing. The cars are driving on. Everything is in motion, and so is money. Grocery stores, car dealerships, they just move inventory, which means they're moving money. All right? Is a dollar worth more today or in the future? Today. Exactly. It's worth more today, and if you don't think that, then look at how many candy bars you could have bought 20 years ago for $1. More than today. And do taxes go up or do taxes go down? They go up, right? And even if you say they don't go up, then they just find more crap to tax us on. So one of the things that's funny is well, let me start with this. How many of you have a qualified retirement plan, a 401k, a 403b, an IRA? By show of hands, how many of you have one of those? A lot of us. Because we're taught and trained at a young age, right? Our grandparents, our parents, you got to save money. Make sure you start putting money away into that employer thingamajigger that they've got. Put your money away. And, they just don't know any different. But what we're actually doing is we're giving up our good dollars today to be paid back with weaker dollars later. Think about that. If your money's worth more today, why are we just giving all of our money up? Why is that what we're taught to do? Give our good dollars up today to get paid back with weaker dollars. Well, really what we're doing is we're putting our good dollars away, letting it grow. Hopefully it grows. And then someday we got a larger sum of money, and they're just going to compound the taxes on that money for us. They're just going to give it back to us and charge us more taxes. And not only that, with your qualified plans, let me ask you this. What do people actually know about their retirement plans? I'll tell you what they know. They know that when they get their statement, it went up or down. Some people know if it's conservative, moderate, or high risk. That's what most people know. That's all I ever heard is when they got their statement, I knew my phone was going to ring. Market went down. Oh, crap, there's the phone going. That's what people know about it. And the other thing, who is in control of your retirement account? Unless you're smart and you have a self-directed IRA. Who's in control, you or the institution? Institution. They control it, they run it, they manage it, okay? So the funny thing about retirement plans is, in any way we save, is we literally do things with money that we would never do with things that money buys. You see, would you ever go out and buy a loaf of bread, come home, put it in your freezer, 5, 10, 20 years, come back, open the freezer up, and boom, what do you got? Freezer burned piece of bread. Enjoy. Would you ever buy a car and wait 5, 10, 20 years to drive that car? Would you ever buy a house and wait 5, 10, or 20 years to live in that house? The answer would be no for all of you, and if you said yes, then I really want to talk to you in the back. We do things with money that we would never do with things that money buys, and we just think that that's how it is. That's how money works. And is there any guarantees with your qualified retirement plan? Some people are saying, no, yes, there is. There's one. It's guaranteed to never go below 0. If you're okay with that, then Heidi on, go on, keep doing it. I just threw a lot at you right there, okay? I threw a lot of stuff at you, and all I'm trying to do is get you guys to start thinking about how money really works. Trying to get you to think about what you've been doing with your money. And I also want you to start challenging. I want you to challenge the traditional way of thinking, the traditional way of how money works. So let's do something fun. How many of you in here are buying a car this year, have already bought a car, or want to buy a car? Can we buy a car? Let's buy a car. All right, let's do that. So we're going to buy a car, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy a $25,000 car. Oh, you guys, your smiles all just went away. Folks, it's okay. I know if you don't want a $25,000 car, this works for a Ford Focus or a Ferrari. Just add a 0 or 2, because Ferraris can get really expensive. It works for everything. And then what we're going to pretend is you got some money parked at your local conventional bank, the Bank of Arizona. How many of you here are from Arizona? Raise your hands. Awesome. Love it here, guys. It's a little steamy outside, but love it. Better than Buffalo. All right, so you got some money parked in that local Bank of Arizona. And here's the deal. I'm going to play your banker today. Banker Chris. Got kind of a ring. And I'm going to assume that you've got $25,000 at your local community bank or local conventional bank, and that bank is paying you 4%. Now, I know your bank is probably not paying you 4%, but let's just pretend you found a really, really, really good bank today. Fair enough? All right, so you come into the bank the next day and you say, Chris, Banker Chris, I want to buy a car, and I want to take my $25,000 out of the bank that's earning 4%, and I'm going to pay cash for the car. Because there's 3 ways to buy a car, and there's some car people, so maybe there's another way, but I know of leasing, taking a car loan out, or paying cash. So you want to pay cash for your car, and you're going to take your money out of the bank. And Banker Chris says, no, hold on a second. How about we take your $25,000, it's earning 4%. We'll take that, and we'll use that money as collateral. And then we'll make you a loan for that car. We'll make you a loan at 6%. Okay, we'll make you a car loan at 6%, but our bank, I'm going to tell you this, our bank will pay you more money on your $25,000 earning 4% than you will pay us on that 6% car loan. Is it possible for you to make more earning 4 when you're paying 6 over the exact same time frame, over 5 years? Is that possible? No. I know, the way you've been taught and trained is you look at it, okay, 6 minus 4 is negative 2, so you're losing 2%, right? Losing 2%. That's how we would be taught to do this. But let's run the numbers, shall we? Let's just look at how this works. Same time frame, 60 months. It would work if it was 3, 5, or how long do Ferrari loans go for now? We got like 20-year loans on those things now? Doesn't matter. Anyway, we're just talking 5 years. Your monthly payment, $483. Times 60 months, you're going to pay $28,999 on that car. $25 for the car, and the rest is interest. Now let's look at your bank account. That bank account, that really good bank that I'm Banker Chris, earning 4% over 60 months, that grows to $30,525. You guys can do the calculators. It's bankrate.com if you don't believe it. Is $30,525 more than $28,999? And unless you guys do math here different than I do in New York, you just made $1,526. But not only did you make $1,526, what else you got? You got a $25,000 car parked in the driveway. We add a 0 and you got yourself a nice car. All I'm trying to do is to get you guys thinking about how money really works and what's really going on here. And not only that, all this exercise does is proves to you all day long that you can make money earning 4% and paying 6%. And here's why. The only thing you need to know is the car balance is going down, the money balance is going up. So simple, right? But you haven't been taught to think about money that way. So now that you guys understand the mysteries of money, now that you guys kind of see what's going on here, you guys ready to learn how to get all the money back for every car you're ever going to buy, drive, and own? I don't care if it's a Ford Focus or Ferrari. Come on, do you guys want to hear that? Because this is some good stuff. I'm going to bring my colleague, Brent Kesler, up, and he's going to drive this thing home, and he's going to show you how this works, how to map out the millionaire mystery. So thank you all for your time. This is Brent Kesler. Put your hands together for him.
All right, brother. Good job, man. Clicker's next, and one on the back. All right, good afternoon, everybody. You guys enjoying today so far? Yes? All right, so I'm going to drive this home of what Chris just told you, all right? So he just told you the thing that you can do is you can borrow at a higher rate than what you're earning and make money all day long. Are you with that? Does that make sense? All right. So who am I? I'm Brent Kesler. I'm not Brent Noggle. I saw it out there on the board. Chris and Brent Noggle. No, the both of us are not brothers. But yeah, I guess we are kind of brothers. We're brothers from another mother. All right? So again, I am actually about just an hour east of Orlando, Florida. A town called Port Orange is where I live. And so anyway, I'm actually a chiropractor. I no longer practice chiropractic anymore. I haven't done so in, since 2009. I had 5 clinics in the Kansas City area, and I sold them all. And I practice and I teach this concept now around the country full time. I do 50 to 70 events a year, all around the country, all referral, all word of mouth. And so this concept that I'm going to share with you, which Chris kind of started on, actually, I was at a chiropractic conference back in 2006, and I heard this information. I was sitting in a chair, just like all of you, and I heard this information, and I thought to myself, man, that looks really, really good, but it just looks too good to be true. Have you guys ever heard something like that, right? It looks good, but it looks too good to be true. Well, after I heard the information, I went home, I left, and I didn't do anything. I went back to another chiropractic conference about 2 years later, and a whole bunch of my colleagues that were at the previous conference were at this new conference. And there was about 10 or 12 of those guys and gals that came up to me and said, Brent, isn't this banking concept the most powerful thing in order to create your wealth, to pay off your debt, pay off your expenses, keep control of your money without having to work any harder or take any risk? And I thought to myself, there has to be something to this, because I wasn't doing it at the time. But my colleagues that were at that previous conference, they took action and they did it. So I thought to myself, there has to be something to this. There's no way that 10 or 12 of my colleagues could be lying to me, right? Possibly a couple of them were lying, right? But not 10 or 12. So I went home and I told my wife, I said, we have to start implementing this process in our own life. And at that time, it was February of 2008. And my wife and I, we were $984,711 in debt. That's what we owed the third-party creditors. Now remember, I was in Kansas. I know if you're out in Arizona, $940,000 buys a very small house, does it not? But in Kansas, it buys a lot. Well, anyway, how was I in all of that debt? How did I, so I could acquire all of that? Well, anyway, I had the house that I was currently in. I had my chiropractic practice. I had my student loans. We also had a house on the Ozarks, on the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And if you have a house on the lake, you have to have a boat and a wave runner, don't you? I mean, right? So you can't have a house on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. I'm also an airplane pilot, so I have to have my own airplane, yes? So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt. I was able to take this process and this concept and put it in place, and I was able to pay that off in 39 months. 3 years and 3 months, never had to work harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control. All I did is add one additional step into my financial life. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So the money multiplier method, all right? We're going to basically talk about the machine that we're going to use to build our wealth, all right? We're going to talk about, and I got to hit this really hard, this button, don't I? We're going to talk about the marathon. This is not a sprint. This is not a get-rich-quick deal, right? This is something you're going to want to add into your financial life. And we're going to talk about the millionaire, right? Because the guy that's the millionaire on the top of the mountain, he just didn't fall there by chance, right? He had to make something happen. So the machine that we're going to use to build our wealth is actually a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Now, I wish you guys could be standing right now where I'm at up here on the stage so you could see all of your faces. Because here's what you look like. You look the same way that I looked when I heard this the first time. You're thinking, what in the hell does a whole life insurance policy have anything to do with me building my wealth, right? Why do you think we would want to use a whole life insurance policy to build our wealth? Tax benefits. Anything else? Here's the number one reason that we're doing it. Because this is what the rich do. This is what the wealthy do. This is what the elite do. The number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world are conventional banks. Conventional banks own more in whole life insurance than all of their land and their buildings combined. Now, why do banks own so much in whole life insurance? Is it because they're stupid, or they know something the rest of us don't know. Maybe they know something the rest of us don't know, right? So this concept has been around for over 200 years. It's not nothing I invented. It's not nothing the author of that book that Chris told you about, Becoming Your Own Banker, R. Nelson Nash, invented. It's been around for over 200 years. Our tax code has only been here since 1913. There's so much that we can do inside of this vehicle that you cannot do with any other vehicle on the planet. So all we're going to do is we're going to mimic and imitate exactly what the super wealthy do. Make sense? Okay, now, so how can you check out that banks are the number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world? Well, go and Google something called BOLI, which stands for Bank-Owned Life Insurance. And you will see the hundreds of pages that come up about how much whole life insurance conventional banks actually own. So we're just going to mimic and imitate exactly what they are doing. Now, I want to drive home the point that Chris shared with you. He told you, he says, hey, let's say I've got $25,000 and it's in a bank and it's earning 4%, which I know your bank is not paying you 4% on your money. But let's say you found a good bank and that bank's paying you 4% interest. And what you do is you walk into the bank and you say, Mr. Banker, I want to take out that $25,000 and I want to go pay cash for the car. And the banker told you, just like Chris did, no, you do not want to take that $25,000 out and pay cash for the car. Instead, we're going to make you a loan of $25,000 and charge you 6% interest. And over the same equal time period of 5 years or 60 months, our bank is going to pay you more on the 4% that you're earning than you're going to pay on the 6% that you're borrowing. Now, Chris told you that doesn't make sense because if I earn 4 and pay 6, I'm losing 2, right? But he proved to you that it was accurate because if you earn 4% on that money over the same 5-year or the same 5-year period, okay, the thing you're going to have is $30,525. But over the course of the loan, paying down that loan at 6%, you're actually paying $28,999. So you have more earning 4 than you're paying 6. Are you guys good with that? Yes. Why is that important? Why is the 4 and the 6 important? See, all we want to do is prove to you with this little exercise is that you can make money all day long earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6. Are you good with that? Now, why is that important? Because inside of the whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, the guaranteed growth rate is 4%. That's the guaranteed growth rate on your policy. That's if the company does not pay a dividend. If the company pays dividends, it's greater than 4%. But I can't promise you the company's going to pay a dividend this year, next year, or 20 years from now. But all the insurance companies I work with have been paying dividends for over 122 consecutive years. So do you think there's a pretty good chance that the insurance company will pay a dividend this year, next year, and 10 years from now? Now, that 4% that's guaranteed that you're earning in the policy, is that tax-free or taxable? What do you think? Tax-free. And our largest eroder of wealth is what? Taxes. Now, why is the 6% important? Because because if you take a loan from the insurance company is not going to charge you more than 6% interest. So can we make money all day long earning 4 at the same time we're paying 6? Yes? Are you with me? So now do you know why the 4 and the 6 is important? All right, now let's go on and talk about how a conventional bank actually works. This is how the conventional bank works that you bank with. I'm going to assume you guys are all from Arizona. I know you're not, but I'm going to assume that you guys have a conventional bank here in Arizona. And the thing that you do with your money is you take that money and you put it into the bank, right? I'm just going to say you have $100,000. Doesn't matter what the amount is. It can be $1,000, $10,000, $1 million. The point is that it's your money, and you're going to put it into the conventional Bank of Arizona, and the bank is going to pay you 4% interest, right? I know the bank's not going to pay you 4% interest, but let's just say you found a really good bank. Well, every time you put that money into the bank, that money becomes a liability to the bank, does it not? Because they owe you interest, right? How does the bank take your money and turn it into an asset? Loans, right? They loan it out. That's what banks do. They're in the money business. They're in the lending business. But whenever we think of a loan, okay, whenever we think of a loan, we think of it as what? A payment, a debt, expense, a liability, yes? We have to start thinking of our money in the bank as an asset, right? We have to start thinking of it as an asset the same way the bank does. Who in here has ever gone out and okay, so like to a bank and got a loan to buy a house besides myself? Anybody? Yes. Now, I'm going to say now that the thing that you do is you go out and you buy a house and they're going to charge you 7% interest. Now, don't get hung up on the numbers. I just want you to get the concept, right? So, okay, so the bank is going to take the money that you put in there, right, or whoever the depositors is, and they're going to loan you the money to buy the house at 7%. Are they not? If you borrow money from a bank to buy a house, are you expected to pay them back with interest? Yeah, right? So who's in control of that transaction? The bank. Who in here besides myself has ever went and borrowed money to buy a car from a bank? Let's call that 8%, right? If you borrow money from a bank to buy a car, you got to pay them back with interest? Who's in control of that transaction? Right? The bank. So can you see, guys, all banks do is they move money in, move it out, move it in, move it out, move it in. It's constantly in motion. That's why that same $20 bill that Chris told you about is not there when you go back to get it out, right? That $20 bill you highlight, put your initials on, because the bank is constantly moving the money. They're not letting it sit and compound, are they? You guys are in real estate, are you not? Have you guys ever gone out and borrowed money to do a house remodel maybe? A new swimming pool, granite countertops, a patio, a deck, yes? Will you borrow that money from the bank? Let's just call it, what is that, 9% interest? If you borrow the money, you have to pay it back, don't you? So who's in control of that transaction? The bank. And then finally, what you're going to do is you're going to do a debt consolidation loan and pay off all the credit cards, and we'll just call that 12% interest, yes? So, who's in control of every one of those transactions? The bank, right? Now, I know it's after lunch. You guys are tired, right? Your food is digesting. But I want to do a little math with you, and I'll keep the math simple. I'm going to show you how much you made and how much the bank made. Ready? So remember, I said you put your money in the bank, and the bank's going to pay you 4%. They're going to loan it back to you, okay, to buy the house at 7%. So if the bank made 7 and you made 4, how much more did the bank make than you? 3. So how about the car? The bank made 8 and you made 4. How much more did they make than you? 4. All right. How about the home remodel? They made 9, you made 4. How much more did they make? 5. And then finally, okay, on the debt consolidation, the bank made 12 and you made 4. How much more do they make than you? 8. All right? So, let's look and see how well you did and how well the bank did. The bank made 20% and you made 4%. How much more did the bank make than you? 16%, right? Close. What about 500% more than you? Because look, if the bank made $4, or I'm sorry, so like if the bank made $20 and so you made $4, so didn't the bank make 5 times what you made? Yes, banks are making between 400 and 1,300% on the money that you leave there each and every year. Now, I know you're sitting here thinking, I hear you talking, Brent. I hear you flapping your gums and moving your jaws. How do I really know that's true that banks make 400 to 1,300% on the money that I leave there? What you can do is you can go to something called BauerFinancial.com, B-A-U-E-R, BauerFinancial.com, and you can type in any bank that you want. A small little bank, a big bank that we all know the names of, and you can get their annual report. I don't care if you get it for this year, last year, or 20 years ago, you will see that banks make no less than 400% on the money that you leave there each and every year. If you think about it, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because I don't care what town we're in. We can be here in Arizona. You can come to my town in Florida. We can all get in a car. We can drive down the road to the main section of town. We get to a stoplight. There's 4 corners at that stoplight. Yes? Tell me what at least one building is that you see on one of those corners on almost every major intersection. A bank, right? Are the banks on the bad property, rundown location, bad landscaping, bad architecture, or are they the nicest buildings in town? And when you walk in, they're all like dressed up and nice and neat, everything inside, right? Who's paying for all of those? We are, right? Have you ever driven down the road and there's a new store coming up and you're like, oh man, I wonder what that's going to be. Is it going to be a new specialty store, a restaurant, or something like that? And you drive by 2.5 weeks later and what is it? It's a bank, right? And they're everywhere. So, again, in all of these transactions here, who's in control? The bank. How much risk did the bank take to do all of this? Not a lot, because whose money did they use? They used your money, so they didn't take much risk. I will agree that interest rate offsets risk. So the higher risk you are, the higher the interest rate you're going to be charged, yes? But if you're too high of a risk, are they going to loan you the money anyway? No. So all we want you to do is to become the banker in your own life. Because you're doing all of this in your own life anyway, right? You're buying cars, you're buying houses, you're doing house remodels, and you're using credit cards. Who is getting all your money? All right, let's move on. Now, I told you banks make 400 to 1,300%. There's the source, BauerFinancial.com. I teach this event 50 to 70 times a year and have been doing it now for 7 years. And I ask this question every time. If you guys can go and find me a bank that makes less than 400% annually on your money that you leave there, you owe it to call me and tell me so I can change my presentation. Fair enough? Nobody's done it yet. Maybe you guys will be the first. Let's talk about how you spend your money. This is how you spend your money. You spend 20 cents of every dollar goes to automobiles. I'm not saying just the cost of the car. I'm saying the gas, the upkeep, the insurance, all right? Everything that goes into the cost of a car. You spend another on your housing. You spend 30 cents of every dollar goes to housing, and you spend 40 cents of every dollar goes out to everything else you do in life. So what you're doing is you're spending 90 cents of every dollar goes out to someone else, and you're trying to save 10. Are you aware of what the average savings rate in America is today? It's about 5 to 6%, okay, as of about a year ago, the last time I checked it out. However, prior to the recession, it was a negative number. And ever since the recession, people started to hunker down more and they started to save more. But I'm going to say you guys are all above average, and you guys are saving 10 cents or 10% of every dollar that comes in. Now, when most financial planners or advisors or coaches, when they come to you to talk to you about your money, they're talking to you about the 10% that you're saving, are they not? And they're trying to get you a higher rate of return on that savings, yes? But in order to do that, that involves more risk, does it not? How much more risk do you really want to take with your money? Not a lot, do you? Here's where I'm different. I'm not going to talk to you about the 10% that you're saving. I'm going to talk to you about the 90% that you're already spending. And if I can just take some of what you're spending and move it into your savings category, then haven't I just increased your savings without you working harder, taking any additional risk, changing your cash flow? Yes? For example, let's say you're spending 20 cents of every dollar goes to cars, and we take that 20 and we knock it down to 15. Right? And now we take that 5 and we just transfer it over to the savings category, and now the savings goes from 10 to 15. Haven't I just given you a 50% increase on your savings simply by just transferring money without you working harder, taking any additional risk, changing your cash flow, or losing control? Are you with me? Let's talk about the interest. Let's talk about what you spend in interest. You spend 5 cents of every dollar goes to interest on automobiles. Now, I know a couple of you are saying, not me, Brent. I don't spend any money in interest because I pay cash for all my cars. And you guys say it with a big chest bump. Hey, I pay cash for all my cars, and you guys are proud that you pay cash for cars. Well, let's talk about that. Is it really true that you don't pay any interest when you pay cash for a car? Right? Now, okay, there's only two reasons you pay cash for a car. Number one, no payments, and number two, no interest, right? Well, is it true that if you go pay cash for a car, I'm going to make believe this is a $20,000 bill right here. I'm going to make this, okay, I'm going to say this is a $20,000 bill. And if you go pay cash for that car, all right, the thing you have to do is make one payment of $20,000, do you not? Or you could make 20 $1,000 payments. Either way, you've got to make a payment, don't you? Whether it's 1 or 20. How do you like to do things? Randomly or on a systematic basis? Hopefully on a systematic basis. Because when you pay cash for that car, now you got to start saving for the next car, do you not? Because that car that you're about to buy or just bought is not going to last you forever, is it? No. How many people in here are still driving their first car that they ever bought? Right? Your second car, your third car. You're going to go through life and buy and sell cars, are you not? Yes. The second reason that you pay cash for a car is because you don't want to pay interest. Well, is it true if you pay cash, you don't pay interest? So again, here's what you do. In order to buy the car, you have to take the $20,000, you have to give it to the car dealer. The car dealer gives you the car, doesn't he? He's got the money, you got the car, everybody walks away happy. Yes? But what happened to the $20,000? It's gone. It's left your family forever, right? Because you had to give it to the car dealer. See, the way that I buy a car is I'm going to take the money, I'm going to give it to the car dealer, he's going to give me the car, so he's got the money, I have the car, but now I have a system to get all of that money back. Would that be pretty cool if you could see how you can get all the money back for all the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own for the rest of your life? So not only do you get the car, but you get the money back. Let's talk about interest on housing. You spend 25 cents of every dollar goes to interest on housing. I'm going to drive this home because it's important. Who in here right now has a house mortgage? You do, sir? And tell me, what is your interest rate? 3.9. Great interest rate, right? Doesn't matter if it's 3, 4, or 5%. So he's thinking that's a great rate. And I agree, it's a good rate. But let's talk about that. Okay? Every month, here's what happens. Whenever you get the statement in the mail, it shows you what the total payment is, doesn't it? Right? And it breaks it down into a principal and interest portion. Yes? So all right, so the question I have is the last time you got the statement that came in the mail at the beginning of the month, was the interest portion of the total payment 3.9% of the total payment, or was it a lot more? It was a lot more. As a matter of fact, over 85% of your total house payment goes to interest in the first 7 years of a 30-year mortgage. One more time. Over 85% of your house payment goes to interest in the first 7 years of a 30-year mortgage. How long does the average person stay in their house before they sell it or finance it? 5 to 7. How long have you been in your house? 5. How long were you in your last house? 5. All right, I can play the game. We can go around the room. You guys are selling or refinancing houses 5 to 7 years. So it's not the rate that's killing you, is it? 3.9% is a great rate. It's not the rate that's killing you. It's the volume of interest that you're sending to other people. Are you with me? We all get hung up in rate. It's not the rate, guys. It's the volume of interest that we're sending out to other people. We also spend 5 cents of every dollar goes to living in interest. So we're spending 34.5 cents of every dollar goes to interest to other people, and we're trying to save 10. Can you see how it might be a little hard to get off the financial hamster wheel doing that? Are you with me? All right. Last thing I think we're going to go into, I'm going to show you now how to get all the money back for all the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own for the rest of your life. Between now and the time you graduate. I like to use the word graduate. If you guys want to use die or pass, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? So here's what I mean. Not only are you going to go buy the car and have the car, but now you're going to have a system to get all that money back. Would that be pretty cool if I show you how to do that? Yes? I got a question for you, sir. How old are you today? 39. So you've been driving for 26, 36, 23 years? The very first car you ever bought, is that a car you still have today? No. Your second car? Sir, how old are you? 55. You've been driving for about 40 years. You got your first car, second car, third car? No. And have you bought your last car? No, you're going to buy more. Are you not? We're going to go through life and buy cars. And are you guys married maybe? Do you guys have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, mom and dad? Are they buying cars? Who's getting all the money for all those cars? The banks are, right? Now look, out of all the cars you've ever bought up to this point in your life, okay, for the last 40 years, out of all the cars you've ever bought up to this point in your life, how much of the money do you have today? Here's a hint. Zero. Does anyone in here have any more than zero for all the cars you've ever bought, driven, and owned up to this point in your life? No, you don't, right? So if I do nothing else but show you how to get all the money back plus have the car, it's been a pretty good day, is it not? Right? You guys might even come up here and give me a kiss or a hug before I leave, right? I'm just kidding, sir. You don't have to do that. All right, so now we're going to do that. Now, remember the machine that we're going to use to build our wealth is a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. All right? So I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm going to say that you're going to put in $10,000 a year into this policy for 7 years. Now, I know you guys are freaking out and saying, Brent, that's stupid. I'm never going to put in $10,000 a year to a policy and pay it for 7 years. I'm never going to tell you how much to put in. You're going to determine how much that you want to put into your policy. But just know that if you really understand this and you do this and you recycle and get all the money back for the cars, you're never going to want to stop paying premium into your policy, and you're going to want to pay more, way more than 10 grand. So here's what you're going to do. In the third year, you're going to go out and borrow $25,000 from yourself, from your policy, to go buy that car. Now, in real life, I would never have you wait 3 years to start using that $25,000 or the money. I want you to look over there where it says cash value in the account, the money multiplier account. I want you to start using your money right away, immediately. And my definition of immediately is within 30 days. Are you with me? But in this case, we're going to wait 3 years and we're going to go buy a $25,000 car. Just know that if you go and you use the money earlier, all right, the numbers are only going to get bigger than what I'm going to show you. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to borrow $25,000 from yourself to buy the car, and you're going to pay yourself back with interest, $500 a month or $6,000 a year for 5 years. Now, you told me earlier that if you borrow money from a bank, you're expected to pay them back with interest. Are you not? So do you think that if you borrow money from yourself, you should pay yourself back with interest? Absolutely, but do you ever do it? No, you guys just go get the money out of wherever it's at. You go buy the crap that you want, and you never have a system to pay yourself back, do you? You have to start treating your money the same way you treat a bank's money. Because if you borrow the money from a bank, you have a plan to pay them back, don't you? You're always paying them back with interest. So you need to start treating your money the same way you treat a bank's money. If you don't, you're saying your money is not worth as much as the bank's money. Are you with me? So pay yourself back with interest the same way you would pay a bank back. Now, let's look and see what we did here in the first 7 years. He put in 10 times 7 is 70. He paid back 6,000 times 5 years is 30. So he actually, the thing that he did is he put in $100,000, did he not? That's what he put in, is 100 grand. But he took out 25 to buy the first car, yes? So if he put in 100, took out 25, how much more did he put in than he took out? 100 minus 25 is what? 75,000 is his true net injection. Do you see that? How much money in the 7th year in cash does he have in his account? 67,881. So if you take 67,881 divided into 75,000, that means you just got back 90 cents or 90% of every dollar for that very first car. How would you like to, sir, have 90 cents back of every dollar for every car you've bought, driven, and owned up to this point in your life? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Is there anything stupid or ridiculous or idiotic that I'm doing here? No, man, I'm just buying the car, right? I'm using this stupid whole life insurance policy to buy the car. You guys are going to buy the cars anyway, are you not? Now, let's move on because that car wears out. Let's look at line 8 to 12 now, year 8 to 12, okay? 12 years. Now, anyway, sir, you said you're 55. So 12 years ago, you were 43. How fast has that time gone by? Quick, right? I'm 52. Right? It feels like just yesterday I was 40, all right? So time is going to pass anyway. So let's now just look at line 8 to 12. I'm no longer putting premium into the policy. I'm just going to use this policy to buy cars and pay myself back. So I'm going to go do the same thing in year 8. I'm going to buy a $25,000 car. Where's that $25,000 coming from? Look at the end of year 7. It's coming from 67,881. Now, all I'm going to do is pay myself back just like I was paying myself back before. $500 a month or $6,000 a year for 5 years, a total of $30,000, right? Now, how much money, so like in year 8 to 12, how much did we put in the system? We put in 30, but we took out 25. Put in 30, but took out 25. So how much more did we put in compared to what we took out? 5,000, right? Because 30 minus 25 is 5,000. How much cash do we have in our account on year 12 right now? 91,000. I want you to look at the number on year 7 and the number on year 12. Our policy, our cash in our policy grew from 67 to 91. That is a $23,000 growth with a $5,000 net injection. How do you like buying cars my way? Anything stupid, ridiculous, or idiotic I'm doing? No, man, I bought a stupid-ass life insurance policy, and I'm using it for my banking system. Now, watch this. Let's see what you did in the first 12 years, okay? In the first 12 years. How much should we put in year 1 to 7? 10 times 7 is 70. We paid back 6 times 5 is 30. So that's $100,000 in the first 7 years. How much should we put in year 8 to 12? Another 30, right? So we put in 130. We put in 130. But we took out to buy 2 cars, did we not? Year 3, year 8, 25 each, a total of 50. So if we put in 130, took out 50. Put in 130, took out 50, how much more did we put in than we took out? 80,000. How much cash do we have in year 12? 91, right? 91,000. So how much did those cars cost us to buy, drive, own, and use? We made money. My simple chiropractic mind says we made money. Now, I can't tell you that the cars cost you nothing because you had to start this process, didn't you? You had to start it. How much money did you have in the first year when you put in 10? Not the full 10, you only had 5,800. But are you in this for the short term or the long term? You tell me long term, but we tend to get hung up in short term thinking. Have you ever read a book by Rick Warren called A Purpose-Driven Life? In that book, Rick Warren says life is like a marathon. It doesn't matter where you start, it only matters how you finish, and this is the game of life. You guys are going to buy the cars anyway, are you not? Okay, now, there are 3 rules to this. So anyway, I guess the question is that I have is, okay, so did I show you how you're going to get all the money back for all the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own? Yes. Now, I showed you this as an example as a car. A car, right? How about if that wasn't a $25,000 car? How about if it was a $50,000 car and you were paying yourself $12,000 a year back instead? What would happen to the numbers? They'd go up. Could you do this with a bicycle? Could you do it with a motorcycle? Could you do it with a boat? Could you do it with your clothes, your iPhone? What about taxes? Could you get all the money back on all the taxes that you're ever going to pay? Yes. Doesn't matter what it is. What about charitable giving? Oh, a couple of you don't like that. You're thinking, Brent, that's not right. I'm not supposed to get charitable giving back. If God didn't want you to get your charitable giving money back, he would not have me standing on the stage explaining to you and you sitting in the room, right, of how to get it back. Do you know any poor people adding wings on any churches? No, it doesn't matter what it is, guys. We're turning every liability into an asset, every depreciating asset into an appreciating asset. This is what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book, Second Chance. This is what Tony Robbins talks about in chapter 5.2, Money Master the Game. That's all we're doing, is buying this stupid whole life insurance policy. Now, there's 3 rules. I'm almost done, ready to wrap it up. Rule number 1, pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. That's your premium deposits. Pay yourself first. You guys have all heard that. Pay yourself first, but you never do it, do you? You never do it. Here's what you do with your money. Every time you get it in, you put it into the conventional Bank of Arizona, and guess what you do with it? You pay everybody else. The house people, the car people, the student loan people, food, travel, entertainment, the kids' braces, soccer practice, travel, whatever it is, and you hope there's money left over for you, don't you? You got to start paying yourself first. Rule number 2, pay yourself with interest. You pay a bank with interest, don't you? Treat your money the same way you treat a bank's money. And rule number 3, recycle, recapture all of the money. So, 3 rules. Pay yourself first, pay yourself with interest, recycle and recapture your money. If it works for a car, what else does it work for? What about a house or a house remodel? You guys do real estate in here, anybody? Can you get all the money back for your houses? All right, look. I don't know when Warren Buffett said this. You guys know who Warren Buffett is? You guys heard of him? Yeah. Here's the thing I heard him say in October 2008. I don't know what, okay, so I don't know if that was the first time, but this is what I heard Warren Buffett say in October 2008, and I think about this almost every day of my life. And I'm very simple. And I just think about this quote every day. Here's what he says. He says, if poor people would just start doing what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. How much sense does that make? All we're going to do is mimic and imitate what the rich do. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, they all understood how to keep money inside of the family. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to use what they've been using for over 200 years. So, if this is something you think you want to know more about and how this would work in your financial life, I want you to, up there, I want you to give us your name, your email, and your phone number. And I got a whole team of people here with these little badges on, and they're waving their hands in the air. So with a pencil, and hopefully you guys all have a pencil and a piece of paper, because who in the hell would come to class without a pencil and a piece of paper, right? I want you to write down your name, phone number, and email, but only give it to us if you want to know more how this would, about how this would work. Our booth is in the back. Here's the thing, guys. If you give us your information, give us a name, email, and a phone number, you will actually answer when we call you. All right? Don't make us go through your gatekeepers to find you. And right there's our contact info. If there's anybody that you think should hear this information, I have a whole hour-and-a-half presentation. I just did a very small part of it. I did the pimple on the elephant's ass today. Right? There's way more to this. Go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com, scroll down to the bottom where it says members area, and click on the password, Bank with Brent. All right? Bank with Brent, all lowercase. Again, our booth is back there. Thank you for your time, and talk soon.